Even though I created this channel to talk about just kind of whatever I feel like, so far every single one of my videos, minus a short PSA on BitRot, has been about crypto. A while back I thought I would look into making a video idea that was not about crypto, which included me finding the shelf life of canned food, which I know is random, but it'll make sense when I actually get the video up if I ever do. But while doing that, I ran across a channel by the name of Canadian Prepper. I'm not a prepper myself and don't necessarily extrapolate the same predictions of how the world will be in the future, but I found his videos interesting, so I made a mental note of his channel. Anyway, recently he's produced a video that is more or less devil's advocate argument against crypto, not a video directly hating crypto in the sense that he's saying you should never buy it, but more so something like a discussion to help produce the exchange of thoughts. The link should be at the top of the screen right now and is also in the description, as I would advise you to watch it before watching this video. Anyway, I thought I would produce a devil's advocate argument to his devil's advocate argument, so to speak. Not that I'm really debating him directly, given our channel size difference and the fact that we probably run in different virtual circles, but I thought I would throw my commentary into the YouTube ecosystem, so enjoy.
Preparing for SHTF, we're preparing for a disaster, okay, a prolonged disaster. Is Bitcoin and crypto going to be useful in that kind of situation? Well, it really depends, but by and large, most preppers, myself included, are going to be skeptical of its efficacy in that sort of environment, namely because of the fact that, number one, it does require technology. I don't think that your crypto wallet is going to be widely accepted in too many places, unless there was hope and an assurance that at some point the grid was going to come back up. Now,
I actually agree with this argument, and in fact, in my very first video, I actually mentioned that Bitcoin would be worthless in an end-of-the-world scenario. I just come at this from a different angle since I'm not what you would consider a prepper and have a very different outlook on my investments. That said, playing devil's advocate for other assets, one could conclude that nearly every investment is worthless in the apocalypse. Who do you think would honor a deed to a property issued by a non-existing government? Stocks and the like would probably be worthless, and even silver and gold probably do not hold the same kind of purchasing power in an apocalypse as you would expect in a civilized society. Again, though I fully agree with this argument, I come at it from a different approach and personally think that if you apply this topic specifically to Bitcoin, then you need to apply it to a lot of other aspects of investing as well.
the other issue with Bitcoin and blockchain is that it's pseudo anonymous. There's a record of all the transactions. So if the government or whoever else wanted to know ever caught wind of your wallet address, which they probably will eventually, if the more you transact with the stuff, the more your wallet address is going to become known. So
just like the first argument, I agree with this argument but come at it from a different perspective. In any non-physical monetary system you need a ledger, and in any decentralized system, anybody who is part of that network also needs access to that ledger. Now of course there will always be a way to hide transaction data, such as ring signatures as deployed in Monero, but that'll be covered in my response to another argument.
Now another problem I have with Bitcoin and other current cryptocurrencies right now is that they are taking money away from hard assets like real estate. If you have money in the Bitcoin or crypto pool, that's money that you're not spending on hard assets like real estate, like actual preps, like a new solar array or a new greenhouse or a generator or just other preps, okay? All the money that you're putting into crypto, you're not putting into hard assets. And if there ever was a crypto crash and all the big whales who hold billions of dollars worth of stuff decide to sell it all off, then you're going to be stuck holding an empty bag. Now, another thing I don't really like about the crypto space right now is that it's incredibly speculative and there's lots of pump and dump, okay? These people who bought in at Bitcoin for $1 a Bitcoin back 10 years ago and who are cashing out today, they are taking the money of the people who just bought into it out with them. So they basically just did a wealth transfer. This is one of the other problems I have with Bitcoin, and this isn't so much related to prepping, but it originally started as a way to liberate people not only from the tyranny of central banks, but from the inequality caused by central banking, always bailing out the big dogs, right? And it was intended philosophically to liberate us from the system which fostered this huge wealth discrepancy, this widening wealth divide where you have soon to be trillionaires. And then you have the rest of the population, which is basically living off of government support because they can't get a job because all the small business has been killed off, right? And everything is manufactured by robots and automation. But what seems to be happening with Bitcoin is it's recreating the same inequality that it was trying to escape.
So I lumped arguments 3, 4, and 5 together and figured I'd respond to them all at once. To address argument 4, I'm the first person to warn everybody that Bitcoin is far from a stable asset, and a lot of my channel has actually been used to document how crypto is working on its way to either become a stable asset or a failure. To address arguments 3 and 5, I can't say anything other than that's how assets work. People who bought Tesla early got a nice bonus without providing any benefit to society other than providing money to those who sold the shares. Despite this, however, they took a risk and got money from it. As far as I'm aware of, just about any asset follows this layout.
The other part of Bitcoin that I find suspicious is the mysterious origins, okay? The Satoshi guy or group or whoever it was who created it, who originally put out the paper, the research paper on the actual code that was used to create Bitcoin in the first place. It's shrouded in mystery. We really don't know who this Satoshi person is. There's a lot of big whales in the crypto space who we know hold a lot of Bitcoin, but we don't know who they are, and we don't know, is there some sort of underhanded, government meddling going on? Is there some elites that came together and decided to create this fictitious Satoshi character and give it to the masses in, kind of like a controlled opposition type thing?
I can understand the potential caution regarding an individual who's never been identified producing cryptocurrency, but let's play Occam's razor here. My assumption is that the creator or group of creators who developed the first version of Bitcoin were probably not some part of a grand nefarious scheme, but were instead trying to avoid the risks associated with creating something like this. Say the second it was released, the government planned on storming the creator's house and arresting them for treason. Nobody could be sure that that would not happen, especially if we take into account that we don't know who or where this person or group of people actually originated from and which jurisdiction they were under. Regardless of the reasons, however, in a decentralized system, it matters a lot less who developed it. Yeah, sure, a secretive centralized service, which could be anything from a VPN to a payment processor, would definitely be worthy of scrutiny. However, in a decentralized network, the network is not operated by those secretive creators, but instead operated using open source software run by the network participants themselves, so the risks associated with secretive origins are greatly reduced in this case.
The problem with Bitcoin is that it does require energy, okay? The grid requires energy, and it requires a lot of energy to mine Bitcoin. Now, so the Bitcoiners, they'll argue that, well, look how much energy it takes to mine gold, okay? Look how much energy it takes to protect gold in vaults and, do all this stuff and just to work the current financial system. So there's definitely some merits to those arguments. It does still seem like it's not the most ideal way to go about doing crypto.
I like while the argument against crypto for consuming resources was mentioned, the counter-argument of the fact that other things consume resources was also mentioned. However, I would also like to point out a more hidden answer to this conundrum, and that is the fact that there are ways in which the system could be altered to consume less resources. For example, I would personally support a change from the proof-of-work system, which is currently in place, to a proof-of-stake system which would use less resources, but more on that in the final section of this video.
A subscriber made a comment on one of my videos, and they summed it up by saying that, these cryptos are like a black hole for everything else, meaning that all this money that is flowing into Bitcoin, it's coming from somewhere.
Going back to my response to arguments 3 and 5, that's just how I see assets working. The same could be said if you buy a whole bunch of gold, or solar panels, or bullets, or medical equipment, or even mayo. That said, I don't see Bitcoin becoming some all-powerful asset which rules the entire monetary system. Instead, I think there are two possible outcomes. Bitcoin succeeds or it fails. If it succeeds, which I expect is more likely than failing, then I would expect it to take a place alongside assets such as gold and silver, which function as non-productive assets and store value. In that sense, it would be pretty non-disruptive and definitely not out of the ordinary of any other asset.
The other issue is the geopolitics of it all. Because Bitcoin and other cryptos are a global decentralized phenomenon, what's to stop various nation states from trying to undermine other ones by pumping and dumping the price of Bitcoin, okay? There's a lot of countries out there who probably have a vested interest in pumping Bitcoin so it replaces the US dollar. And that's where it starts to get geopolitical. That's where the potential for various tensions around the world to start ratcheting up as a result of this.
It is really worth noting that USD is the global reserve currency, so if things go bad with that, no matter where you are, you're really going to be in for a world of hurt. In reality, if Bitcoin takes its place as an asset, I would assume that it would work very similar to gold in the sense that it would be used simply as a store of value and also for transactions. Yes, wars and conflicts have historically been fought over things of value, but I feel that you'd kind of have to reach a tad to say that war or conflict is going to occur just because of crypto as an asset.
My last criticism of Bitcoin itself is that you should never be the first and last to do anything. Any of you guys remember MySpace? Well, if you're old enough, you probably do. And the fact that you remember it and it's not a thing anymore should give you an indication of what I am talking about. Bitcoin has been criticized by a lot of new emerging cryptocurrencies like Cardano, who claim that the system in itself, as ingenious as it was when it was first created, is still a primitive form of crypto. One of the main criticisms of Bitcoin is that you can only have so many transactions on a block per second. So the ability of Bitcoin to be scaled, at least the actual Bitcoin blockchain, you can build different layers. I think there's a Lightning network that's built on top of it, which can facilitate a lot more transactions and possibly enough transactions to have it so that you could use your Bitcoin to buy a Starbucks coffee and it would be as secure. But Bitcoin blockchain itself cannot facilitate that. It's only really right now set up to be used as a store of value.
Part one of my response to that is this. If we were to all agree now that gold is worthless and iron pyrite is now the standard store of value, even if its physical properties could be better for such a use, I doubt that the precious metal market would last long because most people would probably give up on precious metals entirely if we decided to shift. Same with crypto. If we decided to replace Bitcoin with something else, everybody would probably give up on crypto quickly because of all that uncertainty. Secondly, everyone who creates a crypto aside from Bitcoin will tell you why their crypto is better than Bitcoin. Hell, I created a token a number of years back just for the heck of it, and even though it has not and will never be a store of value, it's still out there. And I could pretty easily create my own cryptocurrency, not just some token, but a full-fledged cryptocurrency with proof of stake and rigged signatures that I could call the optimal cryptocurrency, despite the fact that it probably won't take off because anybody could do the same. Finally, and most importantly, is that Bitcoin can change. The network can vote on what modifications it wishes to make, so if they wanted to change the size or frequency of blocks or add or remove technologies or just do about anything else, they can. And if Bitcoin were to grow and it needed changes, such as maybe it changes to the algorithm or the size or rate at which blocks occur, then they could do that to very quickly adopt Bitcoin into a much more suitable condition than it is right now for a much larger load of transactions. Therefore, in that way, without burning down crypto, you could implement features to make Bitcoin better without trying to switch crypto or do something else drastic. So, I guess that summarizes my thoughts on this. Again, I got the feeling that that video was for the purposes of promoting discussion and the exchange of ideas, not this be-all end-all right or wrong kind of discussion. Again, even though I'm not directly debating anybody back and forth in this matter, I hope that this discussion supports more ideas exchanged. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video and thanks for watching.